First of all, I understand their anger, and I understand, in a sense, the terrible sin of abuse that exists in society today that has affected the church, but also affects the society. The church has worked very hard to eliminate that. In Philadelphia, there was a grand jury report that talked about the abuse issues in Philadelphia. I have said from the very beginning, which I continue to say, the church is very, very contrite and sorry that something like this has happened in the church. As far as cover up, I think the church has been very open in trying to deal with this in a very difficult time, and will continue to do that. I think if you look at the church, the Catholic Church in the last 6 years, nobody has done as much to make sure that this never happens again. There have been put into practice in every diocese throughout the United States laws and procedures to deal with this. We have worked with the civil authorities in dealing with this. And so to say that it's troubling, I understand where they're coming from. I understand the pain of the victims, and I wish we could take that away. And I will reach out to the victims here. We understand it. They too have been in the shadow, and felt that they were victimized, and somehow they felt that they were, perpetrators when they were not. They were the victims. And so we've tried to do that. We will continue to try to do that. I am disappointed that they would, say that they think this appointment is troubling. I would challenge them on that, why they would do that, because I've always tried to point out that, to the victims, how, sad we are that this happened to them, and to embrace them. So, but I understand where they're coming from. I understand their pain. I understand their anger, and the church, I believe, is doing all they can to help in the healing process of the victims, and so, and we will continue, and I know Harrisburg has worked very hard on that, and we will continue to make that a priority in terms of make sure that this never happens again. But again, I also want people to understand it's not simply a church problem. It's an abuse problem in our society. We tend to focus just simply on the incidents in the church, but we have to be honest, that it's not simply a church problem, and we have to work with every aspect of society to eliminate abuse of children in any way, shape, or form.
You said you come here with no preconceived ideas, but you have a very strong background in education. Do you have a sense of whether you set an agenda for continuing to develop and grow more schools and the education system, or will you focus on helping the poor in the cities, particularly in Harrisburg?
I think we have to do both. When I say no preconceived ideas, and it's true because, see, the mission of the church is to proclaim the gospel. So in other words, education and sharing our faith is very important. And that these Catholic schools, as far as I'm concerned, are the best way to do that, because we have the opportunity not simply in terms of what I call notional, intellectual understanding of our faith, but also the opportunity of formation, forming people and living the gospel values. And we're able to do that in a way, I think, effectively in a Catholic school. Having said that, I want to work with the people of Harrisburg. We have to look at this clearly, from my perspective, in every aspect, in terms of how are we educating, how are we doing the best job of proclaiming the gospel, and will that mean new schools, more schools? Good. Will that mean we have to change some schools we have and do different things? We'll have to decide that together. When I say I don't come with any plan as to the plan will be our plan, the plan of the people of Harrisburg. What do we think we can do? And as far as the poor, that must always be an outreach of our church. And unfortunately, in our society today, in the United States, the people who are being denied their civil rights today are the poor in failing public schools in this country. And can the church help with that? We can help, but we can't solve the problem alone. So as far as the poor in the Harrisburg I want them to know they have a friend in me. Can we do the impossible? We can only do what the resources allow us to do, but we'll make it a priority to see that we can, educate the poor as best we can. But it's got to be part of a comprehensive, I see it, program. In this country, again, this is a whole other agenda that we could speak about. I believe that one of the civil rights that's denied most vehemently is the civil rights of Catholic parents to be able to give the type of education they want to their children. Because we are Catholic, we are discriminated against, I see, of being able to use tax dollars to be able to form our children, in the values that we want. So this is the only country in the world that does not allow, freedom of education because of your religious beliefs. And it's also, in many ways, our education policy, and again, this could be a whole issue. It's sort of interesting. If you're going to go to a Catholic college, a university, you can get a government grant, a FIA grant, a Pell Grant. You can get money to go to a Catholic college or university. But it seems that if I'm going to go to a daycare before kindergarten, I can get some grants to help me do that. But all of a sudden, when you reach kindergarten to 12th grade, if you choose a Catholic school for your child, you can absolutely get no money for that. That doesn't make any sense. The other thing that doesn't make any sense, and I was telling in the Diocese of Philadelphia, we run 4 juvenile detention schools. St. Gabriel's Hall in Phoenixville, De La Salle Vocational. The city and the government pay the Archdiocese to run St. Gabriel's School for juvenile delinquents. They pay handsomely. So in other words, the government will allow the church to help rejuvenate our children, but they won't give us a dime to help us form them so that they don't wind up being juvenile delinquents. So there are a couple of hot topics that I'll explain more, but I think it's important for us to look at so many things. But so I don't have a preconceived agenda, long and short of it. I'll work with the people to see what we can do, but we know what our mission is.
What do you consider your greatest accomplishment in Philadelphia?
I believe my greatest accomplishment in Philadelphia has been, first of all, to be a strong promoter of Catholic education, a strong promoter of working with our young people, to embrace their faith, and also one of the things we do. Part of my job was not only Catholic education, was also to. I was in charge of development for the Archdiocese, so you need to raise the money, and so we're just in the midst of a $200 million campaign, capital campaign, in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, which I had to head up for the last 3 years. Unfortunately, when we announced the campaign, the economy went south. It was probably the worst time in the world to be asking people for money. But as I leave this morning to come here to Harrisburg, we just crossed the $175 million mark in terms of pledges to this campaign. We're expecting now by the end of the year, which will be complete at the end of the year, that we'll certainly exceed it. And so it's the interesting thing is in an economic time where people are very difficult, I have found that people are still very generous when they understand the mission, and so I think that that's also an accomplishment. I have no problem asking people to help, because I always tell people I'm not asking for myself. I'm not asking for money myself. I'm asking, and especially in a campaign, we're asking for our young people, for education. In that particular campaign, we were asking for help for families to be able to send their kids to Catholic schools. We were asking for money for Catholic Human Social Services that we could help. We were asking for money to help struggling parishes in the inner city, and so I have no problem. And but the people in this room may be coming to see you to help out.